Welcome to Bet On. I'm Kelly Stewart, your host, and tonight we're going to break down some of the biggest college and NBA games with my two favorite guys, Marco D'Angelo at Marco in Vegas, and Gianni the Greek at Greek_Gambler. Guys, before we jump into basketball, let's kind of take one step back and look at the Super Bowl.
What a game.
Mainly because we had a great Super Bowl. So
we could talk about this all hour. About those results. Let's do nothing else.
Patrick Mahomes, you love him.
That's my boy. Yeah. That's my homeboy. That's my boy.
Well, I'm a little pissed.
That's
though,
my homie right there.
All right, let's just start there, can we?
Do you want to rant for a second?
I want to rant.
Okay.
My favorite play in football always used to be victory formation. Not anymore.
It wasn't quite your traditional victory formation.
No, it was not, because we had like about a 12, 15-second differential on the clock that they were trying to run out, and instead of just taking the snap, kneeling down, he had to like dance back there for a little bit.
Killed his rushing yard prop.
Try to kill some time, and I'm sitting there, I'm tallying my stuff up. I'm like, okay, we're 2-0 on the game. I gave out 8 props, winner, winner, winner. And I just put the W on it. And I looked up and I saw him like lose 5 yards on second down or whatever. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's he doing? and then I'm realizing, and I'm looking at the clock and doing the math, and I go, oh no, this third down's not going to be good.
I got lucky. I bet under on that only because that prop went to like 33
That's
and
what
a half.
I said.
And I had to go under.
I had no desire to do it until Sunday morning. I was at Caesars doing my Sunday morning NFL show, and I was like, I have to.
That's what I did.
At 33 and a half, I had to, and it was dead in the water. And I'm sorry, Marco, that you lost that one. But I was really happy because I felt like I got really screwed on the over 3.5 field goals.
Yeah, you did on that one.
So,
it looked like you should have been good there.
Sometimes the gambling gods shine down on you, and sometimes
You didn't like that penalty before the half, the fathom pass interference.
So listen,
offensive.
we can debate whether it was pass interference or not. I just think it was a ticky-tacky OPI call.
Right.
Similar to that of the national championship game.
There's no consistency.
And that's all I said, and Twitter kind of went a little wild of, it was OPI. Well, then fine, but why wasn't this OPI in the Saints-Vikings game? Well, why wasn't it OPI in this game? And that's my only beef with NFL officiating.
Shanahan not call timeout?
Oh, I was
before
that happened. I was yelling at Shanahan.
What I can't understand real quickly is how New Jersey lost money booking this Super Bowl. I would think it's impossible to lose money booking a Super Bowl, let alone this Super Bowl, where nothing crazy happened. Like, when I knew, honestly, going into the fourth quarter, I had bet 38 props, and I was very confident we were going to do well. I don't check it till the next morning because I want to see till all the stats come out. But I knew
get graded differently.
Nothing crazy had happened. There wasn't a 2-point conversion. No. There wasn't a mixed extra point. There wasn't overtime. There wasn't a safety. Like, all normal things were happening. And I knew, like, we bet no's. We bet a lot of no's.
And a lot of unders.
And I knew that it was going to be a good result. But I can't understand how New Jersey lost money again, back-to-back Super Bowl.
And Pennsylvania lost money as well.
They're not booking right then. They're doing it wrong. You can't get that much volume, have a built-in edge, and not know how to manage that kind of risk. You have the wrong guys behind the window.
And I have the numbers here in front of me for all of the big players. New Jersey, they took in total handle $54.2 million on the Super Bowl and had a net loss of $4.2 million.
Vegas, we had our second biggest hold since in the last 10 years.
And
it was that good of a Super Bowl. Average, they make about 5-7%. That's a good Super Bowl year. This year, they doubled that.
This was the second largest in Nevada history.
And we kind of thought when the numbers were first coming out that it might be the largest in Super Bowl history.
You know, it would have been, I think, but it was a pick'em game. And you got to remember, guys that are betting the 100,000s, the 500,000s, now they're putting up 110 to win 100. When the line is a 7-point favorite, now they got to put up 900,000 to win 300,000. So it's a lot higher volume, and you break records. The fact that it got this high on a pick'em tells me that it would have shattered any past record as far as volume goes. It's just the point spread was a pick'em.
And you look at, we talk about how fast this is growing across the country. We have 14 states that have sports betting now. Pennsylvania just came online last year. First year, they did 30.6 million. 30.6 million in they lost $3.3 million. Now, part of the loss.
They lost 10%?
They lost 10%.
It's wild.
And you have a built-in 4.5% edge just on sides and totals. On the props where you have a 20-cent line, 30-cent line,
and as you said, nothing
40-cent
catastrophic
lines.
happened. There was no overtime. There was no missed extra point. There was several of the key name players went under passing, under rushing.
Whoever's managing risk for them is
probably fired.
Not very good at their job.
Should they be fired?
The other part of it that went into it, now obviously it's not the whole thing here because that's way too much money, but inside those numbers is, and you go back to the heyday of offshore, whenever everybody was, you're trying, you've got a whole, it's like finding a new state and you're staking your ground. Everybody is trying to get the new customers. So you're offering lucrative signing bonuses to get people to come on board. That is factored into the numbers as well. I mean, if you go back in the day, remember when, the
bonuses, there were rooms out here in Vegas, we call bonus hunter rooms, that it was just a bunch of, that's all they were doing was rolling over bonuses, and making a ton of money doing that.
Absolutely. So part of that factored into it. But for Vegas, to give you the numbers, the total handle for Vegas was $154 million wagered on the Super Bowl. And
what was the highest? 158, right around there.
Yeah, it was close. And then this is the biggest profit, $18.7 million. I think the largest one was 19.6, and that was the year of the Denver-Seattle. And if you remember, in that year, they had the very first, they started that game
with
out
the craziness,
with
right?
The snap
Safety
over
right out of the way.
Yeah,
Safety.
and that hurt.
What I want to say real quickly is because I was so, I gotta say, because listen, I deserve the heat with the Kansas City because I did. The first 2 years of the year of the Mahomes experiment, I wasn't on board. And the reason for that, I'll be honest with you, is because I think I automatically not play contrarian, but I try to take advantage of biases so much that I try not to get too high or too low on any team or any player. And when I saw after his third or fourth game in the league, people were already anointing him the next Joe Montana, the next this, I was thinking, here's how we're going to take advantage of this guy by betting against him. There's going to be value going against him. The bias is he's great, and we haven't seen it yet. At least the data doesn't show it. It's all on perception right now.
The Chiefs were still profitable against the spread, but they weren't near as profitable as they were the year before.
Exactly.
So we already start to see some of that regression, and that's not anything on the Chiefs and their performance. It's just because, frankly, I'm going to say this, I have a feeling they might be the New England Patriots here coming up in the next few years where they outperform the market.
And with Mahomes, as you got to win, show you able to win like he did this year. Yeah. Come back like he did, down double digits, 3 straight games.
Well, and come back from a knee injury.
I would never knock that. The kid proved he's not just fantasy points. It's not just about lighting up. Like, he actually manages the game. His game IQ is a lot higher than I even thought.
For a 24-year-old.
I'll tell you, I love it when I'm right, but I'm the first to admit when I'm wrong. I'm wrong a lot, and I was way off with the Kansas City Chiefs. But thank God I turned it around quickly, and that cash would.
That's the thing. Yeah, we make adjustments, and for all those people to get on you, let me tell you, I've been with this guy a long time. If he tells you your team is as phony as a $3 bill, they're winning the Super Bowl.
Pretty soon.
Remember Seattle?
Within 2 years.
That one cost you a $1,000 donation. Remember the charity, the last one was Seattle? So that's a good thing. I had to throw that.
No, it's true. It's true. I'm looking for next year's who I could anoint as the $3 bill.
So don't, give him grief for calling your team phony as a $3 bill.
Yeah, you're welcome. He manifested them into the Super Bowl.
Now welcome back in Kansas City. Thank you.
Kelly, we already have Super Bowl odds out for next year. Your buddies at the Westgate, they come out right away swinging. And
yeah, I asked John Murray. I said, why force to have them out? And he goes, well, people are here in town and they're looking to roll over that money they just won on the Super Bowl. They might not be back till next year, whatever it is. So they're saying, hey, you know what? Let's put these odds out and see if some of these long shots can take some action.
I knew that because you had so much traffic here, but that's a typical casino. They don't want them getting out the door with any money.
Yes.
Any money. We want, okay, you beat us for a little bit, but here, Why don't you make a bet that you're not going to be able to cash for a year, and we'll hold that money
I
for
tell
you.
people this all the time. I'm like, that's why I don't love futures bets, because I like to have my money where I can see it in my closet, in my underwear drawer, like, you know what I mean, in a box. Like,
or in one of the 1,000 shoe boxes that you probably have.
I just think it's funny. I'm weird about wanting to hold on to cash. So the only time I ever bet futures bets is obviously not in a casino here in Vegas. We'll leave it at that. But Marco, I'll let you go over the Super Bowl odds.
Yeah, well, surprise, surprise. Who's the Super Bowl favorite?
Kansas City,
baby. 5-1. Opened up 7-1. Now, they brought the opening odds out actually 2 weeks before the Super Bowl. So they brought them out the middle of January. They were 7-1. After,
Of course, the adjustment.
the adjustment, you saw what happened, 5-1. Baltimore Ravens come in second, tied Baltimore in San Francisco. Both of them opened at 8-1. They're still 8-1. Saints, we saw what they did. Drew Brees is going to have another year like he had this year.
And they were
I'm not
plus
sure what
15
he's
in
gonna do.
turnovers, second in the league. That's what you
What
got
are
to
they
look
going
at
to do
with
with Teddy
futures.
Bridgewater is my big question.
Those teams that did really good on turnovers were New England, Saints, Green Bay, Seattle, Minnesota. Those 5 teams benefited the most from turnovers. There's usually a regression and a progression to the
I'll
mean
run
from
through
year
the
to
rest
year.
of these favorites. New England, always. They went from 12-1 opener to 14-1. This one surprised me a little bit. Pittsburgh's coming in next. They got Pittsburgh open 12-1, went up to 16-1. A lot of people banking on Roethlisberger
What about Dallas?
coming
Where's
back.
Dallas?
Dallas is the one that's getting some money, and that's because there's no more Jason Garrett. They went from 16-1 to 12-1.
That's interesting. Where are my Denver Broncos sitting at? Keep
God,
scrolling all the way down. Yeah, I already knew.
Yeah, sorry.
I already knew. Drew Lock.
They're above Johnny's Detroit.
Oh, perfect. All right, guys. We're going to step out for a quick break, but when we return, we're going to look at some of the big weekend college basketball games. That's up next on Bet On It.
Get $25 in WagerBucks added to your account after your first purchase at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com. This is just our way of saying thank you for joining the WagerTalk and SportsMemo family.
Did you know every Tuesday is $2 Tuesday at WagerTalk.com? We pick the hottest handicapper and offer his best bet for just $2. This is a great way to introduce yourself to the winning handicappers at WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. Welcome back to Bet On It. It's time for us to break down some college basketball games. Let's head on over to the SEC, Marco. LSU at Auburn. Now, Auburn got the best of me last night. I took the +1 with Arkansas, anticipating it would close -1. It went kind of back to a pick'em because Joe, one of their best players, is going to be having surgery. I was really disappointed in them in that overtime.
Overtime.
What can you do?
I was with you, Kelly.
But was it more of Auburn or the fact that Arkansas didn't score for almost 8 minutes?
Well, if you don't score for 8 minutes, that's going to kill you.
So I'm looking to bet against Auburn. Bottom line. Talk to me.
But it was a bad spot. That's the reason I liked Arkansas in last night's game, because, we would do that sandwich segment all football season. Well, if we had a show last night and we were talking, I did Dave Koken's show here, and that was the marquee matchup of the night. And I told, believe it or not, my exact word was, I says, Dave, I like to eat, and I got a big mouth, but this sandwich spot is so big, I don't know that I can get this sandwich in my mouth, because you had Auburn coming off the big game against Kentucky, okay? And what do you have on deck? You just beat Kentucky. You got the #1 team in the conference in LSU up on Saturday. How do you get excited for Arkansas? And Auburn lives and dies with the three-pointer.
Yes, they do.
And,
we saw that last March Madness.
Yeah.
I mean, if they were on fire from three-point range, they were golden.
Okay, compound that they were in a bad spot last night, but they were going to Arkansas. Guess who owns the #1 defense against three-point shots in college basketball?
Arkansas.
Yeah, okay. Well, sometimes the best laid plans don't always work out. But you know what? To me, I'm looking at it the other way, that they could win in a negative spot, find a way to win when they didn't play their best. It took that 8-minute drought to get them there and get it into overtime. I think that this is a team that was looking ahead. They managed to dodge a bullet. I'm going to go with them on Saturday. I like Auburn to win the game by 7. And to tell our viewers so that they understand, we're doing these on Wednesday. The games we're talking about are Saturday and Sunday. We don't have the actual lines. We know what projections they should be.
Well, and some of these teams have to play tonight as
Right,
well.
LSU's
and
one.
the way the game plays out will affect the lines on their next game.
Right. So all I can do is tell you what I think the game, what I have is an outcome. My outcome is Auburn by 7.
Okay.
If the line comes out, Auburn's less than 7, I'd like to have a 2-point cushion there. That's a play. I have Auburn by 7.
VR, your
And this
thoughts?
is exactly how you should do it. The truth of the matter is, you really should create your own line before you ever look at the board. I've never looked at like the MMA, the UFC lines before I created my own. Because I may make fighter A favored, they may make fighter B favored. And if I already look at the screen, my bias already has fighter B as the favorite. If I don't create my own lines first, I'm biased by what they put out. So you want to already have your number. And that's exactly what we have here. I made Auburn 4 and 151. So if the game comes out at a pick'em -1, I'm on the Auburn side. If the line comes out 7, 6.5, 7, I'm looking at the LSU side. If the total comes out 145, I'm going over. If it comes in 154, I'm going under. It's that easy.
All right.
That's the way you kind of have to do it.
Okay, let's stick with you, VR. We're going to head over to the Big 12. West Virginia heads to Norman, Oklahoma. Now, they have to play Iowa State tonight. Oklahoma is, well, how do I say something nice about Oklahoma? Last night against Texas Tech, they really, I felt, came out flat. They only scored 61. I didn't have any action on the game, but I just don't know what to believe in with this Oklahoma team. Now, I know West Virginia is being a little overvalued in the marketplace. As I saw last week, I took my Wildcats at 13.5. Speaking of making lines, I made it 10. I had no choice. And at one point in time, West Virginia could have ran away from it, but they let teams hang around.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on this matchup?
I think West Virginia's a little better than their 13 AP rating. I think they're a top 10 team already. Because of that, you kind of may find spots that you could bet them. The problem with Oklahoma is simple. They rely on the three-pointer too much. If they're getting 40% of their points from the three-point line, if you're not hitting your threes, you're not going to win those basketball games. And it's that inconsistency that's been their problem. And now you're facing one of the best defenses in all of college basketball. I made the line West Virginia 3.5, and 136.5. I'm hoping to be on the West Virginia side. I'm hoping they bring it out a lot shorter than that. It's probably not going to be the case, but that's the side I'm looking at.
Yeah, I look for the line to be West Virginia 3.5 or 4 is where I'm at on a projected line, and I'm actually going to take Oklahoma here.
You like the dog?
The situation here, because they're at home, and West Virginia, one of the advantages that I think West Virginia has, their defense is for real. Let's start.
They're legit.
And when you get to tournament time, when you talk about teams that you want to back, defense is so important in tournament time, because remember, when you get into these big arenas for, you get to the Final 8 and Final 4 and that in the championship game, you'll hear us talk about sight lines, and it's different than a normal, arena that you're used to playing. So if you have an off night shooting, and it's compounded when you're playing a good defense, and then your shot lines are off, you're not, adjusting to the new gym. Defense, that's why they say defense travels everywhere. Now, the one thing, and do a nice segue from the travel, West Virginia has a huge home court advantage.
Yes, they do.
They're not a geographically central Big 12 team. And I talk about this every single season, same way with Penn State in Big 10. That's not an easy travel for everybody else in the Big 12. Same thing can be said for West Virginia when they go on the road. It's not easy for them. And you have to watch those situations where they're one place on Saturday and then they play a big Monday game, with the long travel and stuff. But for this one, I'm going to go with Oklahoma here. And the other reason is look what West Virginia has on deck. After this game of Oklahoma, they've got to play Kansas, who's every year the big gun in the Big 12, and then that team that's got that little #1 ranking, Baylor, after that. Yeah, this is a bad spot.
If I could not ever bet against Baylor again, life would be really good. All right, Virginia at Louisville. Marco, I'm going to stick with you. Now, both teams do play tonight. Virginia plays Clemson. Louisville plays Wake Forest. Your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, this is going to be interesting of what they come out with the line. Louisville should come out at 8 or 9, but because it's defending national champs and it's that name of Virginia.
Even though Virginia's just fallen so far this year?
Well, here's the thing. Virginia defensively.
They still got defense. Yeah, they're still the best defensive in the country.
They're good. They're as good as they were last year.
Yeah, they do still have the #1 defensive ranking. You're correct.
But the difference between this year's edition and last year's edition is what you had 2 years ago. They don't have any offense. And you've got to win a game in the 50s if you're with Virginia. You're not going to get Louisville in the 50s. I'm sorry. This team is just too good. And they've shot 48% or better in 4 of their last 5 games. Virginia shoots just 27% from 3. And out of 353 teams in college basketball, there are only 4 teams in the country that shoot 3-pointers worse than Virginia. And what happens is the game progresses, and especially against a team like Louisville, you're going to start, trading 2s for 3s and so forth, and that 3-point lead starts to become a 5-point lead, 7-point lead. Then you've got a foul, and you got to hope to hit a 3, and that's when you can get that line to extend at the end. I think Louisville wins this game. I've got them winning by 12. Let's see where the number is. I like the Louisville side.
VR?
I think Louisville's one of the 3 teams that I've narrowed it down to that I believe have a chance to win the national championship. Louisville's legit. I mean, offensively and defensively, and more importantly, they're experienced. They're one of the more mature teams in all of college basketball. I mean, you got a senior point guard in Kimball. You got a seniors and juniors all over that squad if you look up and down the bench. And the one stat that I like of KenPom's is that continuity minutes. Because a lot of teams, you see whether they're experienced or not, but throughout the season, is this the same 5 playing together, the same 7 playing together? And here's a team that has done so, played together a lot. I like the Louisville side. I think they win this one going away. Again, the spread becomes the great equalizer when betting sports. So obviously, if they brought it out at 12-13, I wouldn't be looking at it. But I think if they bring out Louisville anything below double digits, that's the side I'm on. And also, I don't think this total goes above 115. I think they keep Virginia well below 50, around that 50-point mark. And I think it stays under.
All right, we got about 2 minutes left, so we're going to do one more game. We have Wichita State on Sunday versus Houston. They both play Thursday night. Your thoughts on Wichita State?
I made the game Houston 6.5, around 129.
Okay.
Houston's the better team here, obviously, going in. It's going to be what's the point spread. I think Houston's ranked where they should. They just gotten, they're 25th in the AP. They're around there. I mean, play a decent schedule, a soft non-conference schedule. I think Wichita could stay in the game because of their defense, and that's where the cover comes in. If Houston comes out closer to that double-digit range as a favorite, then I think Wichita definitely could stay in this game, if not win the game outright. I think they will probably bring this one a little bit too inflated, at least going in. That's my thought.
If you're right, newly in the top 25 is always kind of interesting and maybe a spot to look against.
Puts a bullseye on your back, And not that Houston's not been there before. They've been there from this conference. They've been one of the more consistent teams. I'll have more to say about this one when we get later in the show. I will say this. It's a big revenge game. Wichita State got the doors blown off them at home.
Yes, they did.
Earlier in the season. And when they did that, that was their 3rd game in 7 days. So they were in a bad scheduling spot. Now, one of the things to consider, as you pointed out, Ace, is the fact both these teams play games on Thursday night. And this is a game where Wichita State has a big game against Cincinnati. So, that can really dictate where
you get blown out. Do you have momentum because you won? There's a lot.
And you could have a much more inflated number if Cincinnati beats them up. So this is an interesting one, Kelly, and these are the ones where I've got a little more to say on this one, but I'll save it for
best bet coming.
Another section of the video.
Marco's dropping bombs.
Oh, Marco. Okay, guys, it's time for us to take a quick break, but when we return, we got some NBA action, and we get to hear from our local UFC expert.
Baseball through the World Series is priced at $10.95 and through the All-Star break at $7.95. But through this Sunday at midnight, using coupon code MLB695 at both WagerTalk and Sports Memo, you can get the entire season for just $6.95. This locks in your favorite baseball handicapper through the World Series for less than the price of access through the All-Star game. Every Monday at WagerTalk.com, all plays are just $9. This even includes top-rated 5% plays, which normally sell for $40. There's no better day to get winning picks than $9 Mondays at WagerTalk.com and our sister site, SportsMemo.com.
Welcome back to Bet On It. Okay, gentlemen, time to talk some NBA. We know this is my least favorite sport until probably May. This is the NBA, and we've talked about with Teddy Covers several times in our other Wager Talk videos. You look for teams that are hot and that you want to buy on. You look for teams that you want to fade. And I haven't gotten there yet. I'm knee deep in college basketball. The NFL just got over, so I'm looking for some assistance here. Are the Lakers still the best team in the NBA? The last time I checked, they were.
They are. And
Milwaukee will argue that.
Okay, I would say that too.
They're the best in the West, right?
Okay.
So, but they had a losing streak. They had played a big road trip. They had played a 5-game road trip in an 8-day period. That's always tough on any NBA team, especially when you have, if it's an East Coast team out west or a West Coast team back east, which that was the case for the Lakers.
Plus, it's obviously, without killing the mood here as well, been a very somber time for the Lakers as well. I'm sure that also plays into
For sure.
Well, you want to talk about, we talk about how hard it is to come home from a road trip. That's actually an angle I use a lot. I'll fade a team the first game back home from a road trip. Well, their road trip ended Saturday night in Philadelphia. They flew home on, either late Saturday night or Sunday. That's the day that, that the helicopter crash happened for the Lakers. And then that whole week, they canceled the Tuesday game, which was the right thing to do. Played the Friday night game.
Portland game was really interesting, yeah.
Yeah, you talk about emotion and, they lose that game. Now, since that, they've only played twice. They will play one more time before we get to this game on Saturday night. But the 2 games after the first game, they played tremendous. And it's almost like, you don't want to say that this is, a mission, but they're playing with a more intensity right now. And they were playing good before. So you got all hands on deck. And they're playing with a determined focus. And, if they're dedicating the rest of the season to Kobe, I look for spots to jump in front of the Lakers because you're going to lay a premium with them all the time.
Lakers are the Patriots of the NBA.
Absolutely.
You know that you're paying to bet on a team named the Lakers.
But I don't know that I'm going to find a lot of spots to do it. In Saturday night prime time, I know this will sound like a square play, but I'm not stepping in front of them on prime time. And yeah, it's the Warriors, and it's not the Warriors of old, but, I just don't know how they stay in the game.
Okay. VR, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Marco 100%. The only negative to the Lakers side is they have that big matchup with Houston on Thursday night, and then they play Golden State. So
you think maybe it's
a letdown spot, but
Yeah.
it's Golden State. So even though they're not having a good year, obviously,
You think they'll still get up because they're named
because
Golden
it's
State?
Golden State.
Okay.
That's the reason the Houston may not be as much of a negative. I mean, how the mighty have fallen. Look at Golden State now. I mean, winning 23% of their games when they were one of the best teams in all of the NBA.
Well, they lost how many guys now? 4?
Yeah.
A couple guys
that's the
injured, a
thing.
couple
you look
guys
at
to trade.
injuries, Curry, Thompson
Yeah.
for the season, he's gone. Even D'Angelo Russell, who leads the team in points, he's always having that quad issue. So, I mean, it's just not a healthy team. I agree with you. It's Lakers or nothing at all.
One other thing to throw in there, Kelly, Golden State's finishing up a road trip of their own and coming back home. So this will be the first game back home for them, and they'll be playing 5 games. They've just finished up playing 5 games in 7 days on the road. And you talk about, it's a good point about the Houston. That's a bigger game right now than Golden State, just because if you want to go back name, it is.
Right.
But there's 3 little letters that makes this a big game. ABC TV.
Yeah.
Prime time Saturday night.
TV, baby.
All right, let's talk about another big TV game. Utah Jazz at the Houston Rockets. VR, I'll start with you. The Houston Rockets have been this interesting dichotomy this year. I can't quite figure them out. Every time that supposedly they're going to set all their players and they're going to do all these different things. Then all of a sudden their backups come to play. Your thoughts against the Utah Jazz?
I made the game, Houston about 3.5 is what my true line is. Again, there's a lot of moving pieces there, so see how I shade it as we approach that game. Utah's got Denver on Wednesday tonight, which is a big game for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're 2.5 games up ahead of Denver or behind. Them two are battling right there in the Northwest. I think the letdown isn't here with Houston. Obviously, it's a game they're getting up for. I think you may find value on Friday night going with the Portland side because Utah's got Houston in this game. So what I'm saying is Utah's got Denver tonight, big game. Portland on Friday means nothing, big game again on Saturday. I think that's where you look to go against Utah in that Portland game. Here, I think you got to look to the Houston side.
All right.
I don't disagree with you a lot, but I'm going to disagree with you in this one. And Utah's going to be totally focused. Kelly, me and you talked about this a little bit in the green room before the show. I said, in case I forget to tell you on Sunday, if you want an angle, Utah's got this game circled. And the reason, if you remember, not this Monday, but I think it was the Monday before, Houston played on Sunday and then had to play in Utah on Monday. It was a classic spot where rest players, well, they didn't rest one. They didn't rest two. They rest 3 superstars, Capella, Harden, and Westbrook. That line shot all the way up to 14.5.
I know. I texted our local, our favorite NBA handicapper, Hakeem, and I said, Hakeem, at what point is this too high? Yeah. And at 15.5, it was too many points.
Yeah. Well, not only did they not cover Utah, they were embarrassed and lost that game. They got to have their focus here and want to have payback at Houston, I think, and I think you're going to get an inflated number because when Vegas puts the number up, they got to say they won with all those guys out of the lineup. Now we're adding all those points back into the mix here.
Yeah.
I'm taking Utah plus the points, and I'm going all the way. I'm going to call a little
money line,
little sprinkle Utah outright.
All right, VR. There's a great fight card in the UFC this week. It's in Houston, and we have you. So I need your help. The UFC is one of those things where we've talked about several times
money in that sport,
where there's so much money to be made, especially on some of these nice short favorites where, last time I followed you, it only took 40 seconds to get a winner. So I'm looking for a couple of winners from you.
Yeah, it was Conor McGregor inside the distance. Then last time I gave Alex Perez, he knocked the dude out in like 35 seconds. I got a best bet for the main event. So I'm going to save the John Jones fight with Reyes for later. Real quick, I'll cover a couple fights for the viewers here's a few that I already bet. And then here's some leans that I have. A couple that I already bet. Jonathan Martinez against Ewell. I watched Ewell, both these guys, and I love Ewell a lot because of that reach. I just think he's not where he needs to be just yet, and I think Martinez is. He's more well-rounded at this point in their careers, and I don't think Martinez should be an underdog in this spot. So getting him at plus 110, 105 even is a ton of value when he should be about a minus 130, 140 favorite. Then Domingo Pilarte, minus 120, got as high as minus 150 and came back down. That's the wrong way it's going. This line should only go up. The kid is from Houston, Texas, where this is being taken place. 6-inch reach advantage, 7-inch height advantage, has all the tools, and as high as I am on Journey Newsome, I know he's got a big fan base. I think this is a great spot for Pilarte, and I don't understand why the market's going against it. I disagree with it. I like the Pilarte side. And then the final bantamweight bout I bet was Mario Batista, again, as a dog or even money, should be favored over Miles John. The only reason it's not the case is Miles John is undefeated. Again, records play a big role when setting lines, and a 10-0 record does look attractive. Is that just because it looks attractive, just like the AP poll in college football. The teams 8-0, they're in the top 10. Even if they haven't played anyone, you know what I mean? We see it all the time.
But because this guy's undefeated, the average bettor is going to walk up to the window and say, oh, okay, he's undefeated.
They know him from Dana White Contender Series.
Oh, okay.
Fighting
That's where
at home. Exactly. And they're all going to be on the Miles John side. and I like the Batista side. So those are 3 I already bet. Real quickly, Andrea Lee, she'll beat Lauren Murphy. There's no value there because she's about minus 250, 260, but this one will go to a decision, and you could get her to win in a decision at a lot fairer price, around that minus 150 range. I think that's gold. She will not lose to Lauren Murphy. Morono will pass on that. Tony Arroyo, Trevin Giles, that's a pass. Adams and Tafa will not go to distance. Now, that's a lot of chalk, but these two will not go to distance. I think Juan Adams inside the distance, minus 130, offers some value there. I do like that side. Ige Bektic, that line switch favorite, so we're going to pass there. Derek Lewis, Latifi. Derek Lewis inside the distance at minus 130, I think is a very good price. I wouldn't lay the Derek Lewis minus 275.
Why is
I see
that?
a lot of people betting him because he's fighting at home. He's so much bigger than the opponent. Because you got a guy weighing 205 now going up to heavyweight.
Okay.
And he was a small, short 205 guy. Now he's going to look like 2 different weight classes when they meet up. But in the heavyweights, you can't lay that much chalk. You got to be very cautious.
Is it because there's an opportunity for them to knock each other out?
Exactly.
Okay.
There's so much randomness in those outcomes. You got to be cautious if laying chalk. They're very small. There's no room for error, put it that way, when you're talking heavyweights.
So you think Derek Lewis
will win? If you're going to bet Derek Lewis, bet him to win inside the distance. It's only minus 130. Just like Juan Adams. If you're going to bet him to win inside the distance. And finally, less than 50 seconds left. Everyone's using Valentina Shevchenko in their parlays. Stay away from it. Not worth it at minus 1,200. If anything, sprinkle a little something on Chikagian at plus 800. Or better yet, at 70 to 1, bet the draw. This will go to a decision. We see these judges mess up all the time, and this is going to be a point fighter like Chukasian. I don't think Shevchenko could finish her. Maybe we get something at 70 to 1, so I think there's some value there. But the best bet's coming up.
All right. That's awesome. I have a lot of notes here and a lot of misspelled last names. All right, great stuff.
I mispronounced them anyway.
Great stuff, guys. We're going to step out for a quick break. When we come back, yes, it is TNA time with Mr. Ralph Michaels. And also, a little segment called Best Bets. That's up next on Bet On It.
Want up-to-the-minute scores and odds direct from Las Vegas? Then check out our WagerTalk odds page. You'll get all the latest lines along with moves as they happen from all the biggest books in Las Vegas, including Westgate Superbook, Circa, Golden Nugget, Wynn, Stations, CG, and South Point, just to name a few. Best of all, it's absolutely free. The Prez is red hot on the ice and has cashed 16 of his last 18 hockey plays and 15 of his last 17 5% NHL best bets. To get the rest of the season would cost you $455, and NHL playoff package will be priced at $295. But using coupon code P295, you can get not only the NHL playoffs through the Stanley Cup for $295, but the rest of the regular season at no additional cost. Hurry, as this offer expires Sunday, February 9th at midnight.
Hey guys, I'm Lawrence Presman, the Prez, co-founder of WagerTalk. Excited that you're all watching Bet On It. Just want to tell you guys about our hockey show, Puck Time. It's honestly the best show that I do all week. We do it with all of the hockey talent over at WagerTalk and Sports Memo, from Alex B. Smith to Dave Koken, Carmine Bianco, Buster Sports, myself, and Andrew McGinnis, different co-hosts every day. It's hockey all the time, and it's one of the best sports to bet on, and certainly the most exciting sport to watch. Check us out 2 p.m. Eastern every day, Monday to Friday, at WagerTalk TV.
Welcome back to Bet On It. It is now time for some TNA with Mr. Ralph Michaels at Cal Sports LV. If you guys are not following him on Twitter, Ralph, you told me before we started that you only have college basketball stuff for me today, and I'm totally on board with that.
Yeah, well, you know, it's time now in the college basketball season where teams are facing opponents for a second time in the year. And I have a big problem with the word revenge.
Okay.
Listen, if you go on the road and you're a 20-point dog to Duke and you lose, you do not have revenge the next time you're playing. I mean, you're a 10-point dog. If you're the worst team and you've lost multiple times, you don't have revenge.
So when would revenge coincide here? So a game, for example, Michigan State beat the crap out of Michigan last time they played. Michigan's off that loss to Ohio State last night. I think Michigan's going to come to play on Saturday, but not necessarily because of the revenge factor.
Well, right. You
Especially
have to,
being
you're off a
in-state
home
rivals.
loss. Plus, they've also lost 4 straight against Michigan State. So here's what I ran. Back since 2017, I'm looking at the last 3 years. A team that lost the first game and they play them again in the same season, well, guess what? You're 50.3%. Nothing. Sometimes people think, well, if you lose a game at home, that's a big deal. If you lose at home the first game, the second game of the season, you're 50.6%. Some people think you lose as a favorite, it's a big deal. Well, it is a little bit. If you lose as a favorite the first time, you're 52%. So I want to pull out a scenario where revenge does work. If you lost the first game, the first time of a season you've played them as an away favorite,
Okay.
you are then 55%. And if you lost to them straight up as an away favorite of 5 or more, you are 60%. So there is a legitimate setting, but don't automatically think that revenge means you lost to a team and you have revenge. Now, one thing that I used to talk about is conference tournament revenge. Someone knocked you out of the tournament as a double-digit favorite. There's a reason we look up numbers, guys. If you got knocked out of the tournament as a double-digit favorite, the next time you play this team, you are 11 and 21, 34.4% against the spread.
Wow.
So you would think this team was a huge favorite in the conference tournament.
The
got knocked
previous
out,
year.
right, and they're going to
Okay.
remember it. That's not the case. 11 and 21. I will say this. Teams that lost as an away favorite this year and lost both times the previous year. So if you lost as an away favorite earlier this year, and this is the 3rd straight time you lost to them, you are actually 28 and 16, 64%. There are 3 teams that fit that category Saturday: Youngstown State, Tulane, and BYU. Couple just weird notes. Toledo has lost 4 straight games as a favorite. That's only the 13th time in the last 4 years to do that. Those teams, after losing 4 times as a favorite, like Toledo will be on Saturday, 2 and 11 against the spread.
Wow.
Couple top and bottoms. Top road team this year, Winthrop 12 and 0 against the spread. San Diego State 7 and 1 against the spread. Akron 7 and 1. North Florida 10 and 2. Top teams at home: South Dakota State 9 and 1. Southern Illinois 9 and 1. Austin Peay 8 and 1. Revenge sometimes, though, when you're looking at conferences, I will say this. In the Pac-12, if you lost the first game as a home favorite, Pac-12 teams in revenge the same season, 9 and 21, 30% against the spread. So when you're looking at revenge, look at conferences as well as the overall take. But don't use the word revenge and use it as a reason to play on a game. So, again, situations, those teams valid Saturday: Youngstown State, Tulane, and BYU, because they lost as an away favorite this year, and they've lost at least 3 straight to those foes.
Awesome stuff from Ralph. As he mentioned, be kind of cautious when using revenge. That kind of stuff's already built into the line, and also very hard to make a mathematical number associated with it. Great stuff as always, Ralph. Ralph kicking ass per usual. It's now that time for this week's best bets. Marco, you're closest to me, so I'm going to pick you first. No, I don't always just pick my favorite for best bets.
Okay. Oh, wow. Nice way to get off the hook there.
I had to. It's easier that way.
Yeah.
I have to work with you guys for a long time,
Yes.
so it's better that I, stroke
good at
both
politics.
eagles. Yeah,
See,
exactly.
There you go. All
Okay,
right.
Marco, I'm ready for it. You alluded to earlier in a segment that it might
teased the
be
best bet.
might be a Wichita State Houston
Yes.
best bet.
That's where I'm going. And we talked about it, Wichita State. Big game on Thursday night. That's the only thing that, might damper things a little bit, but I'm not thinking so, because I think actually they'll probably lose at Cincinnati. Give me a little more line value going into Houston on Sunday. And when I look at this one, last Saturday, Wichita State was ambushed on the road. They lost at Tulsa, but I don't see that happening here. This is a huge revenge game for Wichita State. They lost at home to Houston 3 weeks ago. You go back to that game on January 18th when the two met. Wichita State was playing 3 games in a 7-day period. That's tough On the NBA level, we talk about traveling schedules and everything else. And for college, even more so. In those 3 games, they were all in different cities. 2 on the road, 1 at home. So, every game you're moving to somewhere. For college kids, that's a disruption. Now, and go look at the stats in that first game. I always like to go back with these rematches and look and see if anything was out of the ordinary. Well, Wichita State had their worst shooting performance of the season. They shot just 30% in that game. It's not going to happen again. Not again. Trust me. Depending on how the Thursday game goes, I think we can get a lot of value here. We're projecting this line to be Houston probably around a 5 to 6 point favorite in this game. I've got Wichita State winning outright. I've got them winning the game by 5. That makes it my best bet. I'm taking Wichita State. This is one of those revenge spots, and I know revenge gets overused in sports, college basketball, but I like the revenge in college basketball, certain spots when these teams play the conference games. They play twice a year. I like to go and see what happened in that first game. And everything was bad for Wichita State in that first meeting. I'm looking for them to even the score.
All right, VR, you alluded to during the UFC segment, you're going to have a best bet.
In the main event.
In the main event.
Trying to get now 3 in a row. Let's see if we could do it. Listen, very few times can you take advantage of such a high-profile fighter like Jon Jones. There's certain outliers in sports. We saw it with the New England Patriots for a decade. We saw it with Floyd Mayweather in boxing from 2005 to 2015. There was a decade there that you could have made a ton of money. He was priced high, and yet he was still undervalued, even at those prices. Now, Jon Jones on Saturday is a prohibited favorite. And even at -450 that he is now, truth is, I would still bet that side. But there's an easier way to bet it and get a much better price. And the reason is for that is we're going to take advantage of the recency bias. Jon Jones has such unfair expectations thrust upon him that if he doesn't go in there and finish a guy in 30 seconds, we're starting to look for cracks in the armor. Is he getting older? Is his performance not the same? We're trying to find reasons he may not be the greatest. Don't look for those reasons. Instead, acknowledge he's the greatest and take advantage of the fact he's going to continue to win. I've ridden him now for years. He's 19-0. Don't even count that one disqualification as a pro. And now he will get his 20th win as a pro on Saturday inside the distance. Dominic Reyes, great athlete, talking all that. He played football. But Jon Jones is a fighter, so much more well-rounded. Anything you saw, any chink in his armor last fight will not be there this fight. At -130, you're getting such a bargain. He should be at least the -$2 favorite to win this inside the distance. But the fact that 6 of his last 8 fights have gone to a decision is the reason for that. You're going to see a Jon Jones that easily finishes this guy because he'll be able to take him down and just ground and pound him easily.
So my concern is his overall health and you get what I'm getting at.
Yeah, he's good. He's never been so focused. This is the third time he's fighting.
Because the thing about Conor, that was my big thing about Conor and why.
Where's his mindset?
Where's his mindset? And we saw where his mindset. It's always nice to see it after, but I know you get that insight from the guys at UFC.
I could tell you, this is the 3rd time he's fighting in like 12 months. You don't see that from Jon Jones, an undedicated fighter. An undedicated fighter will make his big payday, take 10, 11 months off, get 1 fight a year type thing. And you saw him doing that for a while. This is his 3rd fight in the last 12 months. He's making that comeback from all that nonsense, and he's on a mission. You got a couple years to take advantage of Jon Jones. His prime hasn't been lost. The fact he didn't take punishment over those 2 or 3 years is going to be a positive and prolong his career, where after 30 it starts to decline. It won't be the case with him. It's going to take a little longer.
All right, I'll keep mine quick. I'm going to take Michigan over in-state rival Michigan State on Saturday. I'm thinking this line's going to be about 1. That's what Ken Palm has it projected.
Makes sense.
Marco mentioned the revenge factor. Last time they played Michigan State, they got actually smacked in the mouth, almost lost by 20 points here. I'm going to take the better defense in this spot. I do think that this is going to be a close game, but as you know, those Big Ten home dogs have been absolutely crushing this year. Let's recap the show. And we'll kind of talk about things. Don't forget, guys, we are filming on Wednesdays, so the lines that we're going to put up are the guys' projections. So Marco has a play on Auburn, winning by 7. Now, again, when the lines come out Friday night, early Saturday morning, keep an eye on these because that could change things. He actually thinks Oklahoma's going to spring the upset over West Virginia. Louisville to put the smackdown in Wichita State. to spring the upset as well. All right, let's check out what VR's true lines are here. Now, he made Auburn a 4-point favorite at home versus LSU. West Virginia, -3 at Oklahoma. Virginia catching 9 at Louisville. There's no way that I'm back in Virginia right now. Can't do it, especially as you mentioned, if that total is low. Wichita State at Houston. They're going a little head-to-head here. I'm curious to see where these lines actually fall. And then we have some best bets for you guys. Oh, I'm sorry. We have NBA primetime. Marco has the Lakers by 15, Utah by 1. So keep an eye on those NBA lines on Saturday and Sunday. VR's got the Lakers -9 and Houston -3.5. Best bets, John Jones inside the distance for VR. Marco, Wichita State by 5. And I'm taking Michigan -1.5. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's show as much as we did doing it. And I hope you really enjoy the new format. Give us some feedback. Leave us some comments. Give us some thumbs up. Good luck this weekend. Until next week, let's bet on it.